I've given up on Tonga. Is there anybody in Fiji that could give me a signal report? I got a whistle. Not sure how to interpret that as a signal report. I have to say that the 2019 cruiser group is the quietest group that we've ever had on Gulf Harbour Radio. It makes you, well, it's kind of frustrating talking to ourselves. It would be nice to get the odd person to tell us that you are indeed out there. So anyway, it is almost time to get started, so we will do that. This is Patricia and David, Gulf Harbour Radio, where it is a really dismal grey morning. Back to 13 degrees. It's really getting frustrating, 13 degrees. The one that's sort of in the protection outside says 11 degrees. But yesterday we had the most glorious day. It was absolutely one out of the box. It was hard to believe that you could go from having the fire on one day to all of the windows open till quite late in the afternoon, and just enjoying blue sky, no wind, and absolutely glorious sunshine. It was 18 degrees, which I know you think won't sound very much, but when it's flat, calm, no humidity, beautiful blue sky, it was really, really gorgeous. So there you have it. So this morning we've heard it's September the 19th, by the way, so it's about damn time that the weather started being decent. So we really are moving quite rapidly through September at the moment. It's a very nice day up in Uvea. I just talked to Mesa Troy, 15 to 17 out of the east-southeast, 21 degrees. That's not all that warm. 1018, nice clear skies. Jasper 2 is in Blue Lagoon, blustery night, 1015. It is nice when the wind dies down, I have to say. Yesterday it was glorious here. But I know there's a lot of people kiting out there that really like the wind, and people that are trying to move from one part of the South Pacific to another do appreciate the wind. Whistler up there, I presume still at Nananu Itake, 10 to 15, 50% cloud cover, 1015.7 and 25 degrees. So that sounds a bit better. Midnight Sun, I'm told that you are calling from Fulanga, the old, well, can't hear anything from Fulanga trip. I'll give you a call in a minute and we'll flap our ears here. Where are we? Next one is Sarwini Bay in Fiji. Thank you. Looking to head to Newcastle maybe next Wednesday. So, yep, a few people wanting to move, wait for these stronger winds to go by. So that was from Chara. A few people on the move. Midnight Sun, go ahead. I'll lead that relay. Go ahead. Well, we're good to know that you're still alive, Andrew, at Port Vila. We have been wondering where you are, enjoying life there, but it is quite hard to get in and out of Port Vila, but you're getting out beautifully this morning. Yeah, there's a few boats actually from here. Midnight Sun and Amazing Grace are still in Fulanga, as is Lupan. So they'll probably be there for a while looking at the what's going on. So, was there any question that you heard, Andrew? Over. No, I have no copy from anybody in Fulanga, but you're coming through well, Andrew. Oh, okay. Well, you're booming in, so you've been there a few days now, so I presume you are enjoying Port Vila, what's the weather like today? It looks pretty reasonable, just a bit of cloud around, over.
Yeah, time to get maybe 4 degrees in the cabin. We'll fly down to Canada.
Oh, that's a really good idea. That's what I did. Saves all the hassle of going against the trades and getting soot on the sails. So yeah, you'll really enjoy that. Are you you're staying overnight? A night over? Oh, that'll be good because you'll get to see the people living up in the trees and yeah, get a good feel for the place. Oh, well done. All right. That's a good idea, folks, for anybody else that's listening. Rather than battle to Tanna, just leave your boat on the mooring at Port Vila and fly down. And if you stay a couple of nights at least, then you get to be taken to the little village, really, really primitive village that lives up in the banyan trees, and then you get to go to the volcano and just get a real good feel for the area. So when you go to that little village, they do like a donation because that's the only income that they have. Okay, moving on to a bit of news close to home. First of all, the Maui dolphin here. You probably haven't heard of it if you're not in New Zealand, but it's a very close relative to the Hector dolphin. But the Maui dolphin is very endangered. There's only, they estimate, 63 left. And autopsies have shown that the main reason for their death is the presence of fatal toxoplasmosis. And the reason why this is important is that this disease, a parasitic disease, is caused in particular by cat poo and cat litter. These Maui dolphins tend to feed at the bottom of rivers in fairly shallow water. So the Seafood Organisation is having a bit of a campaign because the government has decided that they want to close off an enormous area to coastal fishing, netting and training. They want to ban that, and the seafood industry is saying, well, look, hang on a minute, this is not what's causing the death of these Maui dolphins. In fact, none have been caught in any net. So let's look at what's really killing them. But there's a bit of controversy going on here at the moment. You'll see these small coastal fishing boats doing their job to keep our fish and chips stores and food for us. So we really do want to look after our local fishermen. And if they have fewer and fewer places they can legally fish, it's going to kill that business. All right, on the other side, or further up the country, way up into Russia, in fact, after I visited Russia, I'm actually picking up news from there, but the Russian Coast Guard had a bit of a battle yesterday with 2 North Korean boats, and they have taken on board 80 North Korean crew, who they say were fishing illegally off its coast within their 200-mile economic zone. The Koreans, during this process, launched an attack, and they actually wounded about 3 Russian guards. It looks like a bit of a retaliation thing because in July the North Koreans seized Russian boats. This is in the area between North Korea, Japan, the peninsula down North Korea, and Russia. It's quite contentious, and quite a few people seem to think that their 200-mile zone extends into it. Back to New Zealand now, quite exciting news. Amazon Studios are going to produce a TV series of The Lord of the Rings. They maintain that there's going to be some new writing, new plots. It has, of course, chosen New Zealand for filming it, and it's probably going to be spending at least $1 billion. This is big dollars, green dollars, not our Pacific peso. And it's going to be probably the most expensive TV series ever done. So it will give a great boost for the country. The last ever brought a significant boost to New Zealand for jobs and tourism downstream of the actual shooting once it was aired. And shooting starts in Auckland in the not too distant future over the next month or two. So that's quite exciting for New Zealand. It's a huge boost. and a lot going on with the film industry in New Zealand. There's, in fact, not all that far from here. I think within about 50 miles of Auckland, there are some big studios have been built and are in action. Okay, Afghanistan goes to the polls on September 28, and the Taliban have vowed to disrupt any election rallies or any related gatherings to that. I really wonder what's between the ears on these people. But anyway, they had in fact three suicide bombings yesterday. One was outside the US Embassy in central Kabul. It killed 22 people. And another one was where President Ghani was due to speak electioneering. That killed 26. And there was one further south which injured. I'm not sure how many people were killed. But boy, I tell you what, you have to be pretty desperate to try and get improvements in your countries over there in that part of the world. So there you have it. Saudi Arabia, by the way, this is just following up on the explosions at their two oil places. They have now decided to join the International Maritime Security Construct. That was the group that has formed to try and keep the Straits of Hormuz open, because Iran have decided that they are going to cause havoc there. So the group that's now patrolling in there includes Australia, Bahrain, UK and the USA, as well as now Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure what vessels they have, but anyway, they've joined the group. Yeah, closer to home, let's go up to the Solomons. They've upset the world because they have now severed their ties with Taiwan and have now recognised China. I presume that came with a lot of promises. China is actually in the gun for lending money to these South Pacific countries and then getting them into a state of debt and not giving them too many choices as what to do. But anyway, they have decided to go with China and recognise Beijing. So Mr. Pence, the US Vice President, has cancelled the meeting he was going to have with the leader of the Solomons to discuss development partnerships. The Solomons are in fact the sixth country to make the switch since 2016. But anyway, we'll see whether that move was a good one or not. I think they'll find that it might be not quite as clear as they had hoped it would be. Going to the elections in Israel, they are now too close to call. Each party, Mr. Netanyahu's Likud party, has 32 seats, as well as the Blue and White Party have 32 seats. So they're now going to have to negotiate with the smaller parties, and that's going to keep them busy for a while. So hopefully that will keep them out of causing any mischief in the Middle East. There's enough problems going on at the moment with the stresses and strains there between Saudi Arabia and Iran. So that will keep them busy. It does seem that these days there's, in fact, in a lot of places, elections happen and they're just too close to call and there's too many parties, so you end up doing a lot of horse trading. The Swedish 16-year-old climate activist, that's Greta Thunberg, she actually spoke to Congress in the United States yesterday, told them they are not trying hard enough to tackle the climate emergency. Now that's interesting, isn't it? It's no longer called climate change in the papers, it's called the climate emergency. There's too many actual facts coming out now to indicate that perhaps it is not changing, it's just going through its regular cycle. So they're now calling it the climate emergency. Here in New Zealand, I've got a chuckle on this one. There was a vegan demonstration in one of our local Auckland Countdown supermarkets. People stood along in front of the meat department protesting about people buying meat, and some of the shoppers got a bit irate, so that caused a bit of a friction there. But this is happening all across the world, and in fact there are so many products coming out in the United States that don't include meat that the meat industry is getting a little bit worried. Okay, well that's about it from me. I did mention, didn't I, that we had this beautiful 18 degrees C day yesterday. It was so good, in fact, that Team New Zealand took out their AC-75 foiling catamaran onto the Gulf for the first time.
Not a cat.
It's not a cat?
No,
No.
monohull.
Whatever it is. It looks like sort of something like from the space age when it's got it foils up. But anyway, that was out and enjoying the glorious day out there on the water. All right, let's see who else we've got. Macushla at Theon Island, Port Orley. Way up there. We enjoyed Port Orley too. It sounds like they're enjoying it.
That's the land of the tender chicken.
The land of the tender chicken. I don't think. You don't buy a chicken on the run there. Epi, hanging through the weekend blow at Epi. That's local talent. And in Port Vila, 80% cloud cover. Slight breeze in the Anchorage, 21 degrees, 1016. Thanks for that, Jeff. All right, so I think that's about it from me. I'll just do a pause to see if there is anybody I can hear. Now that the conditions have changed a little bit, I know on 20 metres when we have our ham net, boy, things change from the start of the half hour to even 20 minutes later. Is there anybody that wants to ask anything before David starts the weather?
Well, we can't hear anything, so off we go. And good morning to all of you who are listening through streaming or whatever. And we're going to start with the jet stream again. And by the way, the best level for that in this part of the world is 250 millibar. 250 millibars. So when you're doing your looks, if you're interested, that's the area. Now it's running, the jet's running roughly west to east at about 27 south. Now the jet streak, this is an area of very, very high winds within the actual jet itself, starts at about 160 east, 160 east. Now, you've heard me talk about how important the entrance to the jet streak is. And it's important, as we know hopefully by now, that the equatorward side is creating upflow and the polar side creates downflow. So let's look at the synoptic chart for this morning. So underneath the equatorward entrance, we'll see a surface trough. And we'll also see the leftover depression that was over Queensland. And, well, carrying on, you guessed it, under the polar entrance is our big high. Now, it's about halfway between New Zealand and Australia. The central pressure, it's growing, 1038, 1038 millibar. Now, by lunch tomorrow, the high is going to lie almost over New Zealand, getting stronger, looking about 1040, 1040 millibars. So big. This is probably big. By Saturday, it's going to be directly over New Zealand. Now, a depression will have formed then as well, and that's near 40 and 160 west. So it's off to the east, but it is standing in the way. It's actually standing firm in the way of the high. So what is happening is a rather intensive squash zone is running north-south between the date line and 165 west. That's a tremendous amount of isobaric compression that's occurring at this point. And that, of course, means lots of wind. And when I say lots of wind, we're looking at storm force, 50 knots out of the south in that area. Now, by Tuesday next week, here comes another depression in the Tasman, about over New Zealand, not quite, bringing also 50-knot gusts. And we'll have winds northwest, shifting southwest as the front's axis is crossed. The typical wind shift that we get. So up in the islands, all of which are under the influence of this big fat high, fresh winds certainly prevail. In the deep tropics, Our Solomon's trough has returned. Usually it's there almost all the time, but went away yesterday, but not today. Today it's back. And quite a bit of heavy thunderstorm activity, and that activity extends to Rotuma, just north of Fiji. Now there is another trough over Tuvalu, and that crosses Tokelau on its way to the northern Cooks. And lastly, I see a trough over the Louisiades. So that's the action that we're getting up in the deep tropics at the moment. Now, looking at satellite imagery this morning, there is a great deal of cloud that's lying over Niue and Tonga, mostly stratus, strato Q, that type of cloud. Now, this heavy cloud layer extends all the way to New Zealand. It's a huge, huge geographic area of cloud. All of this is within the big fat high. Now, an interesting, well, I guess you can call it a phenomenon, but it's a very interesting situation. When you look at the ridge axis from our big fat high, what happens, the wind, mostly southerly, is traveling along fairly quickly. And it starts to make that hard bend to the west to turn into basically easterlies or southeasterlies. And so just like on a racetrack, when you're going down a high-speed straight, you have to make a turn into the sweeper, you slow down. And that's what the wind does. It slows down, it builds up, it rises, it hits the dew point, the clouds form. But because we're in a high and the air is descending, and that's what's creating the high, the cloud spreads out, and that's where we get our stratus and strato Q. So that's how that happens. People always wonder how can there be so much cloud in a big high pressure area. So there you go. That's how it happens. So over to Tonga, we could expect cloudy periods. There'll be some isolated showers in this. Cool air in the evenings. This new air mass is rolling in from the south, so it's a lot cooler than what you've had before. Winds east-southeast to southeast, about 20 knots for Vavau and the Papais. Tomorrow, southeast in the 15-knot range, a little bit less wind, but stronger winds for Sunday and Monday. Mostly southerly quadrant, 20 to 25 knots. So a bit of air coming for you there. Actuals this morning, actual condition reports of Vavau southeast of 5, scattered to broken, and the barometer was 1017. The Papais report east-southeast 18, and scattered to broken there as well, and the barometer 1018, just a little bit higher. Over Fiji, imagery shows scattered to broken as well. These cloudy periods may bring some isolated showers, particularly over the Big Islands, nothing new there. Then in the afternoon, the flatter areas throughout Fiji may see some showers as well. So you can expect pretty much the same conditions tomorrow. Active thunderstorms, though, over Rotuma as part of that trough. In fact, you draw a line north of Fiji, run the line west-east along about 13 south, and that will be where the storm clusters reside. Now, Fiji Met, because of all the conditions going on here, they are continuing with a strong wind warning. That's in force for all Fiji waters. They're calling southeast winds 20 to 25 knots out on the open water. And the same tomorrow. We expect the usual rough seas and a moderate southerly swell. Now, Vanuatu, well, it doesn't look too bad at all under satellite imagery. Mostly fair, periods of broken cloud. Not so red hot, though, over the Banks and the Torres group, though. The trough of the north is extending rain cloud over this area, these areas, Torres and Banks. So for the main centers, though, Luganville, Port Vila, expect partly cloudy conditions, I think, today and tomorrow. and it's cold at night in the south. Trish will appreciate this. Tana is forecast to get down to 14C. 14C. And that's why they want blankets down there. Winds in general, southeast 20 to 25 in the open waters for the central and northern water. Seas 2.5 meters up there. In the south, though, not as much, about 10 to 15 knots and 1.5 meters for the seas down there in the south. And on to New Caledonia. By lunch, you could expect east-southeast about 10 to 15, partly cloudy. We may see some showers for Ile de Pan and Maury in the Loyalties. I see a bit of shower activity there. Now, the winds will pick up this afternoon, east-southeast to southeast 15 to 20, and a pretty good chance for increasing showers for our lagoon and the Loyalties as well. Friday, mostly easterlies. I would say 18 to 20 knots, partly cloudy. So we're getting a little bit more wind on Friday. Now, some observations for you. These are at 5 a.m. on the recording instruments at these various locations. The Outer Reef, east 16 knots. Ile de Pan reported southeast 8 to 10. Noumea, east, getting up to 17 knots at times. Lifu, south to southeast 8 to 12. And I looked at radar this morning, the radar scans. They show returns, scattered returns over the lagoon, and also quite a bit of returns from the passage between Grande Terre and the Loyalty, so that area of water in between those two. That's where it happens to be raining. And that's about it for me. That's the general picture. So hopefully you will have a good day regardless of the weather. And since we are really not hearing you, I'll pass it over to the chief.
Yep, and no other reports have come in. Just welcome to on air to On Mundo and up there, Jeff in Sabu Sabu. Is there anybody else? I think we've covered everything. Muscat Cove Week is still going on, so those people won't be worried about getting out and about. Anybody with anything, please call. I think I hear that there might be someone there, but I would need a relay from a good signal boat. Any relays? Yeah, you're coming through well this morning. Go ahead, Andrew.
Okay, you got a question for Vanetta?
Louisiana to Townsville. Have a look.
Okay, I'll put on outside a million package from Louisiana to Council.
Yeah, I heard the word on passage, and that's what all I got. Oh, and Louisiana. Good morning to outsider Australia. Most of the Aussies are going home early this year. There's only one on the way to New Zealand, as I know so far. But good morning to outsider Australia. David's just having a look. At least it looks pretty clear. Well, no, a bit of cloud up from the Louisiana. I'll just see if he's got any further comments. Stand by.
Hang on, I gotta see.
Oh, he's going on. He wants to have a look at what latitude the Louisiades are. No, not Townsville. That's where Ashley is. It's almost on the Tropic of Capricorn. Couple of big marinas in Townsville, and we have good friends on a boat called Ashley Mai Kai Kan. They've cruised for what seems like 100 years, and they have just bought a home there. It's quite exciting when you move into a house after you've been on the water for a long time. We found it quite exciting, although all we did when we bought this place was pile all of our gear that had been in storage for 15 years, and then we went cruising again. But it is pretty exciting to get into the system. All right, I will pass the microphone, and we're now talking about getting from the Louisiades to Townsville.
Yeah, it sounds like you're on passage there, and quite a bit of wind. Obviously we talked about this big high that's building, and I'm not sure what you're getting at the moment, but anywhere from 20 knots, mean wind of about 20 knots out of the maybe east-southeast and southeast, gusts up to 25. I'm looking tomorrow now, you know what you've got now. Looking Saturday, heading down toward about halfway down, still about 20 knot mean wind, east-southeast. There'll be some gusts getting up to 25 to 28 knots down there. I don't know what your ETA is, but we'll take a look at Sunday. And the stronger winds, you'll be past the area of stronger winds, which are closer to the Louisiades. So as you get closer to the Townsville area, the winds drop to about maybe 15, 18, and they look to be easterlies on Sunday. Easterlies on Sunday. However, when you get very close to shore, that's where things change. They become a little bit more, I would say, south-southeast, still in that range, about 15 knots, 18 knots. So I don't see any trough activity at the moment. So the winds are all in really a perfect direction for having a very, very quick passage to where you're going. So hopefully you heard that.
Roger, Roger, I got. All right, thank you for that. And I think there was Arca called one day. Somebody said on streaming, but by that stage we'd switched off. Yes, if you do need to talk to us folks, the new folks particularly, we are in a very heavily built up area here with a lot of power lines going past the door. So you need to have your radio on high power and really bellow for it to get through the noise. Actually, it's not too bad today, but often it is quite bad. All right, was there anybody else, seeing as Andrew seems to be in a good spot? Is there anybody else for Gulf Harbour Radio? Please call. Nothing heard, and there has been a new update from Carolyn and Fatty on Ganesh. They are well on their way through the Indonesian areas at the moment, so seem to be having a good time. All right, and good morning to Tim, who's just joined us. Okay, folks, that seems about it. We will be back again tomorrow. There'll be a pretty full roundup tomorrow. Then we are on our way to Taupo. So anything that anybody has, if you want to give a pre-warning, send an email to ghradio@extra.co.nz or check out the website www.ghradio.co.nz. There's a fair bit of information on there. All right, cheers, everybody. Have a good day. Enjoy the water.
Yeah.